Hey there! Today I want to take a look at the upcoming Virgo New Moon, the first of two Virgo New Moons in a row, and also just let's check in on the outer planet alignments because, as much as I may sound like a broken record, this is actually really an exciting time to have the alignment of the outer planets in the visionary forward looking, creative, opening kind of alignment that they are in currently, very future oriented. I'm Marina Orms here with your Astro Vibe, Astro Perspective for Sunday, August 17th. So we're finishing up right now, as of August 17th, finishing up the moon cycle that began with the Leo new moon. So focusing on creativity and self-expression and a creative process. And we really have these outer planets supporting that creative process with some very visionary, very possibility opening alignments. They're called sextiles in astrology. Whether or not that is meaningful to you, what a sextile is it's an easy flow of energy. It's two planets that work well together. Two planets saying, okay, how could we work together? Let's try this. Let's do this. And when each planet represents a bigger picture of energy that we're all collectively experiencing, what we're seeing is certainly the breakdown of the old, right? Letting go of things that have become clear they aren't going to work or function anymore the way that we used to rely on them, as well as just this pressure that we're experiencing right now to determine our future. So these visionary, creative, sextile alignments between Pluto and Neptune and Uranus, the three outermost planets in our solar system, are, and by the way, all three outer planets are not part of traditional astrology. Traditional astrology, going way back, before we had, fancy ways of looking at the sky, which, we could argue about that. But the point is that moon, sun, right? Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, those were the seven planets in a traditional astrology. And in recent times, we've added, because of our ability to see things, right, more clearly with our eyes, even if they are not naked, not naked eyes. So we've got Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And in other words, all three of these are outer planet energies that are new to humanity, right? Relatively new because of their discovery beginning in the 1780s with Uranus, and in the 1800s with Neptune, and 1930 with Pluto. So we're not even 100 years into knowing that Pluto exists. And we can talk and argue about all the different bodies and factors in astrology, but in modern astrology, these are the 10 planets, the seven traditional plus Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Anyway, not to get sidetracked by that, but the point is that these outer planet energies, we are still collectively getting to know them and what they mean and how they show up when they move through these cycles. Because certainly the last time all three were in this type of formation, even though it wasn't as close to exact as it is this time, was 500 years ago. So that was before we even knew any of these planets existed. So we're getting to know these energies, and we have these doors to the future that are opening in so many different ways. And really, how we work with these, so they're bigger picture collective energies, right? And we have much more of a global awareness than 200 500 years ago. right? You didn't have the same ability to communicate instantly with somebody on the other side of the planet. So many things have changed, but what we're seeing now is how can they still change, and how are we continuing to change, and what does that future look like as we move into warp speed, from what we have known in the past. So that, in other words, there's a lot of possibility, a lot opening up, and I've spoken recently in my videos about a magic key that can open a secret room, revealing the unknown, revealing things that we weren't even aware existed. Maybe it was there all along, but we weren't aware of it. We couldn't see it. We weren't thinking about it. And so becoming aware of things that we haven't known, and just take a moment. This is the magic. Take a moment to ask yourself, how is this showing up for you in your life personally, right? Where is something opening up that you didn't know before or hadn't thought of in that way before? How are you noticing things about maybe your own patterns or your family patterns, or what helps you move through your life, things that you're discovering, things you're dots you're connecting that maybe didn't have a connection before. So just noticing, asking, how is it showing up for me personally, because we each have our own version of what that might be looking like. And then certainly in the collective, we can see energies and ways of understanding information that is coming through in the information itself is unprecedented. So we don't know how to navigate this because it's new. And the way that things are unfolding so on the one hand, it's like we don't have the map. We don't have the clear instructions from generations past on how to do this, because and what is showing up in multiple different ways, whether that's government or finances or family structures or identity, or all the different things, healthcare, all the ways that this might show up in our lives. Anyway, we don't have instructions from previous generations, because what is showing up is not what they dealt with. They didn't have smartphones, for one, right? Just as one tiny example. Um, let alone computers, digital clocks. I mean, you name it, right? So I could go off on a million tangents, but I won't. Okay, so coming back to um, this idea that it's happening to for us personally in some way, and it's also happening in the collective in the way, the kind of information that's showing up. So the point is that we have so much that we are figuring out. And we need to be creative. We need to think creatively. We need to try new things. We need to open our minds to new thinking. So we've got Neptune and Saturn in Aries. So we need to be risk takers, pioneers, courageous warriors, trying to move something forward that we're trying to go somewhere we haven't been. That pioneering spirit, that's very Aries. And the idea that we might need to fight for what we really want, and that we can fight for it. So, one of the things that's showing up in this moment is that fighting matters. It's almost like your phone call to your elected representative, or your choice with how you spend your money, or whatever it is that you're doing, it has more importance. It has more significance because there is this collective uh, shared experience of that we need to not just fight, but also make choices consciously to choose the direction we want things to go in. In other words, we're no longer just dealing with the system or that we've been dealt a system, a hand of cards, I guess, that you've been dealt, right? Instead, this is about, well, how can you shape it? How can you make choices and take actions and take risks in ways that not only fight for what you care about, but also help to move things in the direction you want them to go? And we have so much more leverage with regards to that with this Saturn and Neptune in Aries energy. Then we've also got Uranus in Gemini. And remember, these are all in sextile. So all three outer planets in 1 to 2 degrees of these air and fire signs. And at right now, for the next couple of weeks, start getting closer and closer until around August 25th. They all get within a half a degree. So very, very close of these two exact sextiles. Well, and more if you count Saturn. All right, I won't go into the technical details because I feel like I've done that before. So Gemini, Uranus, we are absolutely in a moment of needing to think differently. So Uranus, energy is about getting outside the box. And so whatever has defined your understanding or your way of operating in the past, we need to get outside of that. We need to shift our consciousness to that different perspective where we have, again, more leverage. So the capacity to think bigger, to think more deeply, and to think in ways that might involve some trial and error, but also can bring these lightning bolts of insight, of epiphanies, of innovative energy and clarity. So getting curious, absolutely, that Gemini energy, that mind of wonder to say, hey, not to assume that I already know the answer, but to assume I do not know the answer is where the power is with that Gemini curiosity, to assume I do not know the answer. And where does that lead you in your thinking? And then, of course, Pluto in Aquarius, bringing power and empowerment, and the planet of truth in Aquarius, sign of shakeup, of thinking outside the box, ruled by Uranus, the sign of authenticity, freedom, again, getting outside the box. So that energy, and one of the things that is happening as we think about old power structures coming out of Pluto and Capricorn, so old systems, old structures, and the dismantling or the reckoning of these old systems and what they have gotten us, that the way that we need to collectively reckon with what old systems and structures have brought us, where they have led us, and the need to deepen into the transformation of those old, rigid, power-based structures that don't work in, maybe the Aquarian age or Pluto in Aquarius for the next, till the 2040s. So we need to think about community, we need to think about diversity, and traditionally where we have thought about power structure and who has the power and who doesn't, right? So whether you're in a minority or thinking, and by minority, that's a completely misleading term, right? Because you certainly don't have to be in a minority to be a group that is oppressed by the society at large. And the point is that there's unequal, right? There's unequal ways of seeing people and rights and privileges and all of that. So how do we equalize that? And that is what Pluto in Aquarius is about. It wants diversity. It wants groups that have traditionally been less powerful or more silenced by society and the powers that be to take up space, to show up, to be part of an equal society. Not that we're probably ever going to reach that perfect sense of equality where everybody has the same, but that we're striving for that, right? That we're trying to bring that balance, that we value balance and diversity and diverse voices and diverse perspectives. And some of what we're seeing in the Pluto in Aquarius, as we've been shifting into this vibe, is you're seeing, oh, here's what we created, right? Here's the monster we created or that we're dealing with from those power structures of the past. And one of the things that we need to also realize, and this is, if I'm blowing your mind already, I don't know, you can come back and listen to this idea later because this is deeper and this is important. But this idea is that not only is it the powers that be that we need to grapple with and overcoming these external authority figures or people in power or authoritarians or what we see as the energy of power over us, but we also need to see within ourselves where we uh, have adopted the beliefs that we must be small, right? That we must hold back or silence ourselves, or that we don't have power, so we can't have power. So that is absolutely part of this process. And so noticing in maybe some interpersonal dynamics in your own life, like not just how is someone else exerting power over you, but how is it that you internally exert that power on yourself, right? Silence yourself or stop yourself from being powerful because, of whatever reason, right? Whether it brings up unconsciously fears or all the reasons, which I won't go into here, but hopefully that is something you can grab onto and think about, because I think it's really important for us to recognize that it's not just about what's being done to us. It's also about how we can reclaim our own power by supporting our truth and our authenticity and our right to take up space, to have a voice, to, whether it's women or whatever group you're a part of that is, in that category of being targeted, or whether it's your friend or your neighbor or someone who's being targeted. So it's all of us. It's really all of us who need to recognize that the power to be in a society that is free, that is loving, that is caring, that is kind, that is creative. That's what I'm talking about, and how we show up and how we reclaim our power to show up and take up space and have a voice and be seen and heard. And when we affirm that for ourselves and learn how we internally, unconsciously stop ourselves from stepping into our power. And so that's part of what we are moving through with these energies as well. So, that's a lot to take in. So take your time, pause the video, whatever is supportive for yourself, and certainly come back and listen to this again if there's more for you to take in here. But I do want to get to the Virgo new moon coming up on Friday, August 22nd. And so it says 0 degrees Virgo. Virgo is the sign of humility, of service, of the ability to put in effort to make something better, to repair, maintain, perfect, make something, so it's how we make things here on earth to embody some greater principle or spiritual experience or wisdom or powers that be. So Virgo is that humility, and with the upcoming Virgo new moon, 0 degrees Virgo brings this potent Virgo energy in, and this power of, or this reset point of our own humility and improvement and ability to be of service. It is in a square to Uranus, so also, coming back to this energy of shifting our consciousness, of opening to new thinking, getting curious, and that humility of thinking, what is it that I don't know? And then how can I, from that place of not knowing, open myself to possibilities and clarity and solutions that I couldn't see previously? And of course, that Virgo new moon, happens as these outer planet alignments are coming closer and closer. They will be within half a degree. The two sextiles between Pluto and Neptune and Uranus will be within half a degree from August 25th to September 11th of this year. And of course, Saturn in there very close to Neptune, so adding a fourth planet into the planetary dynamics. So the Virgo new moon will be a opportunity to connect with the physical world and our bodies and what it is we need to do and how we can embody that bigger picture of what is important to us through the not needing the recognition, the praise, but which is, maybe more of a Leo thing. Leo loves attention, but Virgo doesn't, right? Virgo is okay with being behind the scenes, with putting in the work and nobody notices. For the most part, it's about what you're producing, right? With Virgo energy, it's about how you are producing results. And I'm actually going to be doing a talk for OPA, the Organization for Professional Astrology, on August 31st about Virgo energy, and that is going to be super fun. So I hope you can come join me there, and I will put more information about that in the description for this video. And those are my main thoughts for today. Just really, really tuning into what is the bigger picture of what we're learning. And with the upcoming Virgo new moon, we can think about how to be humble to that bigger picture of what is possible, of what we might be creating that we can't even imagine, or maybe that we can imagine, but it's going to manifest in, could manifest in ways that are beyond what we could have even dreamed for, but at the same time, they're different from how we might exactly think they might show up. And that's Virgo energy as well. It's humility to the process and the learning that takes place through that process. And that, yes, you are working to create something, but ultimately you don't know what you're creating until you get there, until it's done and revealed, and you get to see how beautiful it is, or what kind of impact it makes. So the effort that we're putting in our creative work, and how to roll up our sleeves and get hands on with that, right? So Leo is like splashing the paint on the canvas, and then Virgo is like, okay, now let's get technical and get the colors right, and get everything where we really need it to be to create something truly beautiful and close to perfection. So we're heading into that. And then we have 2 Virgo new moons in a row. So August 22nd, new moon at 0 degrees Virgo, and then September 21st, a Virgo new moon and solar eclipse at 29 degrees Virgo. So lots of Virgo energy coming up here with Virgo season. So all right, I will see you next time. Don't forget to check out more that I have to offer in the description for this video, my member program, all about that upcoming talk on Virgo energy. and so much more. Thank you for being here and subscribing. And I have readings available and guided meditations at astrologyheals.com. Thanks for being here. I will see you next time. Bye for now.